we want to like accomplish. I'm just gonna kind of turn it. So hopefully, I don't want to be in. There we go. I didn't want to be that large. Okay, I just want to be able to see. All right, there we go. We got most of the table. So kind of heard being a good mentor, a good kind of role model. What are some skills that you guys think you might still need to learn to successfully supervise, or some skills that you want to continue to develop?
I think for me, I'm not sure if it's directly a skill, but I guess just kind of getting more concrete about the policies and things.
Okay.
As I understand, policies consistently change, but just so that when I'm giving that information to my team, it's not, Monday it's this way, but Tuesday is, that way. Just so that I can have that consistency with them, and then it doesn't kind of make them feel like maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Them.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what I feel like the same way happens.
And one thing that we are working on too is kind of revamping our policies and procedures. When the agency first started, we kind of used some like generic policies and procedures just to kind of, get it kind of through the state and stuff like that. But when we talk about doing things like the heart-to-heart way, there are definitely some policies and procedures that we need to kind of revamp a little bit to be able to, say, no, this is how we're doing it. And hopefully, knock on wood, it'll be done in the next, I would say, hopefully couple of months. There's just a whole bunch of like, I was like, why are there so many? And I was like, oh, I guess it is running a whole agency, so that does make sense. But I think too, one of the benefits of actually kind of doing that now is we are seeing how things work well or how they don't work well for the supervisor. So we have been able to kind of play with the policies and procedures and kind of tweak them to what has been working well for you guys. Okay. And are all of you guys working towards like your independent license eventually at some point? No.
Okay. I just have to set a date.
Okay.
But depending on me, you talking about like is you asking for hours?
Just like, yeah, but like just in general. Like I didn't know if like people did have tests scheduled or they just need to pay those like $1 trillion to go and take the test.
So get some more hours.
Some more hours. Okay.
No.
Okay.
And
okay. Let me pull up. Funny that like I never get any text until I'm in a meeting, and then I just got like 15. They're all from my best friend. Oh, I cannot minimize Zoom when I am recording this meeting.
Well, my second job, I'm in the whole other thing right now. So it's probably in the future. There's something happening. You said I might do it. I'm not fun. In the future, I definitely try to do it.
What about everyone's just kind of like future career goals? Do you want to stay supervising? Do you want to moving to do something else? Like, what are your kind of grand final aspirations?
Oh, I have to finish an education degree.
3 more classes, so I plan on finishing that, but I'm not even sure.
Anyone else?
My goal, I have a nonprofit theatrical company, which I merged my degrees of social work and theater arts to create that. My goal, eventually, my passion is substance abuse. So I eventually want to develop like a community center where we work with at-risk population as well as people who are being reintroduced to the community to give them the life skills they need to avoid recidivism. So that would be my goal, and then also to use the arts as a therapeutic approach to address mental health.
Awesome. And to me that I've never heard of any programs like that. I mean, they might exist. I've just maybe never heard of them. That's a really cool idea. And I say I feel like I see maybe a lot for like youth, but not much of that stuff for like adults or anything like that. So, you know, and I think too, it'll probably change. Like, you know, when I was doing case management stuff, I was like, I want to be a supervisor, and then I want to be a director, and then I want to be, and then it's just like, I kind of just want to be a stay-at-home mom to my cats. But I mean,
That's how I feel. Did I mention here?
But you know, somehow I don't think that, you know, I couldn't get away with, you know, cats. I would need, you know, 2-legged humans or something to stay home to. But
I have a girls group, so kind of like my end goal is to develop. I want to have like a center for those girls, kind of like a safe house or some kind of center, and then I want to have like a group home.
Okay. What age is your group?
So for girls ages 11 to 17.
Okay. That is awesome. What about you, Latia? Do you have any like grand aspirations or anything that you kind of working towards?
Well, I had thought about the opening a home here, and I got everything that I need for it, but then I kind of like don't want to do it because I don't know if I want to go into people's homes and stuff again. My mind been all over the place. Sometimes I don't even know if I want to do social work. I was thinking about changing my whole career at times. So I don't know.
I think that's normal though.
Oh yeah.
I think that just comes with it, and I think it comes with anything. But especially this, it's easy to get burnt out. It's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to feel like you're not doing much. So that's just moving, not going nowhere.
But the beauty of it is it's such a diverse field. So sometimes your degree, it looks like you won't use it, but you can use it. So
And I think too, it's nice that with, I would say maybe like mental health in general, it's generally, at least for me, easy to kind of jump back in if you do take a break. Like I took a while off to be a nanny because I did get burned out, and then I just kind of jumped right back into it. So I was just like, I don't know how parents do this every day, because I'm like, I can give these kids back, and wow, those days I'm just like, I don't know how single parents do it. Like there have been days I was just like, I don't even know how I got y'all out of the house like dressed and we made it to school on time. Like you kind of match, so that's fine. Like I learned just to not argue. If you want to wear your fancy party dress with lime green tights and Crocs, go for it. Don't care. Are you dressed weather appropriate? Okay, so just wanted to go over the job description real quick with you guys. It's not like in your packet. I forgot to stick it in there. Not everything that I have on here is in your packet either. Some of it we'll just kind of talk about and go over. But basically, the supervisor is responsible for providing support, supervision, and guidance to a team of qualified behavioral health specialists and responsible for monitoring clinical documentation and productivity for their team. So just some job duties. Obviously there's the other duties as assigned in there too, but individual and group supervision to case managers, review and approve all clinical documentation completed by your staff members, tracking productivity, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Assisting the case managers in managing their caseloads, providing support and guidance to staff in the event of a client crisis, and then again, the other duties as assigned. What are either from this job or past jobs, what have been some of the other kind of tasks that you have done that you maybe found not listed on a job description, but you're like, oh, nope, I'm doing this every day kind of a thing? I mean, I know that notes are generally kind of, or no, I guess I should say notes and documentation tend to be like the big kind of stuff along with actual supervision. What are some of the other things that you kind of found yourself doing quite a bit? If there's anything else that I did. I'd say the times that I have supervised staff, I found myself actually looking for resources for them, not like super duper often, but felt like, you know, I kind of went behind the scenes and maybe talked with other staff members or other supervisors to see what their team members had in terms of resources, because I feel like everybody's got something different. And then I spent a lot of time too just working with staff members on, and I guess this would kind of fall under there, but just making sure that, like, you know, their notes were to the correct format, or, you know, you're using the right words or whatever. So I guess some training and stuff in there as well. And I would say too, to a certain extent, doing like some observations like of staff members with clients. Those are always kind of fun. That's a little awkward. It's like, yeah, just pretend I'm not here. Just, you know, sit like 5 feet away or whatever, and just awkwardly stare at you. But, you know, I think that there are kind of like, I guess it would fall into those like other duties as assigned. There's always like a couple of things that you're like, oh, I didn't think this was part of my job description, but guess it is, kind of thing.
I guess I can add to that. I guess even with notes, I find myself, I don't want to say like doing the notes for them, but like when it's corrections that need to be made, I may like fill in and fix a, you know, like if it's a small error or something, and I find myself doing that even in my other job. Like if they have to pick up something like equipment or something, or, you know, from one of my sites or something, I find myself, I'll go take it, or I'll do the, and I have to stop doing that. I'm like, I'm putting too much work on myself. You know?
And that's actually a really good point. If you haven't yet, you might in the future run into a staff member who has some struggles or some deficits that they're, you know, you're like, hey, you know, you gotta work on this if you want to keep your job, kind of a thing. And, you know, you pour a lot of work into training or helping, and they're just not with it, you know. So, you know, it is a good then to recognize, okay, I need to step back and let them kind of start doing the work too, like a client almost.
And that's my thing that I did doing my past positions. I would do like a group check. Now with COVID, it's been a little weird because you can't really do too much crazy. but we would actually do like once a month where I would take a random client that somebody was struggling with and remove the person's name and everything, and we would present that client scenario in front of the whole group. And then we would process how everybody there would address whatever was going on, whether they were having, issues with engaging the client. And then we would also do, no one would ever know when it was their day, but when they would come into the group chat, we would have one presented client, then one situation to occur where you would have the client and then the person who was the case manager, they would be the case manager. And I would most times be the client. I would try to be like, I would be a problematic client for them just to see how they would address it. And it would give them like that on the spot chance to navigate it, but then also the group could assist them as well. So it more so took from being a question, but put them in a situation and seeing how they responded.
I've worked at agencies that have done similar things where everyone's kind of presented a case, and those were always kind of like the group supervisions that I found the most helpful. Because if I didn't have a client that was similar, I'm like, well, I probably will in the future. But just being able to hear how everyone would do something, because again, everybody would probably do something, maybe this like the same, working towards the same goal, but their interventions will be a little bit different. And as we talk about supervision with staff a little bit later too, that will be, that could definitely be an idea for a team meeting, or, whatever you guys want to call yours. Those are always, like I said, were always really helpful for me. And it also kind of, in my mind, takes some of the like planning off of you, because you're like, oh, you guys are going to talk about it, kind of a thing.
And Tasha, too, you have to be careful about doing that, because which I find myself doing a lot too, just because it's just easier to just do it. But then when there's disciplinary situation that needs to happen, it kind of puts you in a situation because you haven't allowed them to correct that. On top of kind of like what Shani said, it doesn't allow them to grow. So even though it takes more time, that just shows you where they are and where you need to work on it, and it actually takes stuff off your plate, even though it feels like it's
Right. And I'm just like, let me fix it so it can be right. But I'm like, I understand exactly.
Okay. Excuse me. Does anybody want to add anything about personal goals, or just that they have for being a supervisor? Anything about wanting to expand into the future, anything like that? I'm like, I smell coffee, Gladys. Sorry, I'm like, I have my iced coffee,
Come to
but
my side.
I know. Okay, so the next little point, just kind of like the purpose of training, kind of like I had mentioned earlier, just wanting to ensure that everybody kind of remains on the same page, gets on the same page, remains on the same page, excuse me, and can feel confident that they can go back to their team and give them a solid answer about a policy or a procedure, or any question that they might have if something does come up. We are going to kind of be doing some ongoing trainings for you guys, kind of different topics. It's not going to be, I don't personally think that it's going to need to, last the rest of the year or anything like that, but, at least another kind of few weeks minimum. What would you say, Ebony? What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously we want, because it's going to be, a mandatory type thing, want to ensure that we schedule them at a time that is convenient for most people. So what is
What y'all want for lunch?
bread? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding, but I don't really care.
Okay.
It's like,
Okay.
Mhm.
I was just saying, like, I'm like, I eat bread, so I could eat all those bagels up in there. So I can eat all the bread. I was just imagining Panera's tomato soup that, comes with the croutons, but then in a bread bowl. Let me tell you.
You probably need to order maybe like 11:30.
If you order it directly from the website, it's fast.
Okay.
Morning. Janet, there's something on my chair for you.
Okay.
On the little chair.
So what is generally good days, and times for everyone? I'm trying to kind of get it so that everybody can be.
So Friday mornings for me, because Fridays are kind of like my flexible day at my other job. So
Okay.
Friday mornings. Anything before 2:30.
Anything before 2:30. Friday morning. I'm just
And she
gonna-
does be full-time with us, so she belongs to us.
Pretty soon.
This Friday's working. Yeah. So
Fridays, okay, so pennies before 2:30. Okay, so Friday morning. So it sounds like, yeah, Friday mornings then. Is like this time, is like 10 work for everyone? Is that like a good time to kind of, okay. 10. We could do 10:30. I was gonna say we could do a 10:30.
Just say 10 and then.
10. Okay, that works. So 10. Do you want to just kind of keep it the same time? Would that work? Okay. And what I will do too is kind of get a calendar and I will email it to everyone. Just with some if I can think of it ahead of time, and we kind of come up with something, the topics that we'll kind of be talking about, so you have an idea. And then if there is something that we want you to like bring, I'll stick that either on the calendar or in an email. So I will honestly probably send that from the compliance email just to kind of keep it a little bit separate, but I will get a calendar out. Definitely.
So one thing we will do is kind of like what April was saying. We will go over different interventions and stuff like that. Like we'll practice them so that you guys can start practicing them with your teams. So that is something that we'll start doing once we get through the policy and procedure part.
And I think too, if there is, I like that idea, Ebony, and then maybe if there ever is a scenario that we could go over with like a difficult staff member, because sometimes, the staff members can be difficult too. I've definitely worked with some where I just want to like, why don't you get it? Kind of a thing, or why won't you listen? Okay. Okay, so I'm checking my little checklist off here. Okay, so in your little packets. Okay. Oh,
One thing before we get off the supervisor, you cannot be a clinical supervisor unless you're independently licensed. So those of you that have clinical supervisor in your signature line, if you can take out clinical, you're a supervisor. You cannot be a clinical supervisor unless you're independently licensed.
in your email.
Oh, no, I ain't doing that. I don't think I got a signature on it.
You should have one.
I don't even think I got one on there. I ain't gonna lie. Let me see.
Yeah, mine doesn't. Yours says it. It does?
Oh, Starbucks is telling me about stars today.
It's
Double stars.
Oh, that's right. It is double star day. Uh-oh. Coffee. If I could live off of coffee and bread, man.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna bring you some of my stuff, and you can make it out. Oh, but you use a regular coffee.
Yeah. What do I need, a French press?
My son do too. He always.
Oh, curriculum.
Stars.
Mhm. I have two different sizes.
Oh, okay then. So in your little packets, there is a little mini packet, I guess, that looks like this, that has some like task checklists in it. And I might kind of skip around the agenda a little bit, just because that's kind of how my mind's working right now. I feel like, again, cats are like, it looks like this, cats are like small children, and like they wake up at like dawn for some strange reason. And my cats decided that I was a great vault this morning at like 5. Again.
How many cats do you
2. It makes it sound like I have like 800.
I
I
know.
only have 2. I mean, I would totally be okay with like 800 cats if I didn't have to clean the litter boxes with it. I will say though that even though I am the crazy cat lady, my cousin, even crazier, she dresses her cat up.
Oh.
Dresses
can't
her
even say my
cat
I
up.
grew up with, I think I had 3, Tweety and Sylvester.
No.
Like my cousin's cat legitimately eats like organic, non-GMO venison, something or other, and like dust-free cat litter, and he has allergies, so she had to go get a HEPA filter. I'm like, my cat eats Friskies.
Take it out.
I know, but she's like, I spent blah 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 at the vet, and I'm like, my cat eats Friskies and gets like crushed up, so I'm going for cheap here. So from a kind of like compliance, slight clinical point of view, I worked on putting together, along with Lattice, Ebony, and Vita, like kind of like a daily, a weekly, a monthly, and then like an as needed task checklist, to kind of help everyone remember some of the duties and tasks that you will run into as a supervisor. So on a daily basis, kind of just working on reviewing progress notes and sending back to those staff for corrections. I know that there are definitely some staff members that are better than others about actually doing the corrections when you say to do them. So sometimes, adding to that, might be like hounding staff members for, their notes and things like that. Approving those corrected progress notes, making sure that you are checking for incomplete notes. So either, so reviewing those and either approving them or sending them back for corrections. When I run the productivity on Mondays, it's usually Mondays, sometimes it's Tuesdays. I do add to that an incomplete notes report for that particular week. I am more than happy if you guys don't know how to do that to show you how to do it so you can do it on your own. The incomplete notes report. And I also tried at the end of the month, I do one for the month as well, and kind of stick that on with like the last week of the month. But, if you find yourself like with a lot and you're like, okay, I just want to focus on this one day or whatever, like I said, I'm more than happy to show you how to get to that report. It's pretty easy.
So effective immediately, you guys will have to run that report weekly.
Wait, what you mean?
Run the productivity report, because there's still a whole bunch of incomplete notes. So you guys will now be required to start doing that report. So Shawnee does it.
Where we reporting? What we report?
You say that again?
Like, where do we record it at? Is there somewhere where we write it?
Well, basically you running it. I probably would just create a spreadsheet where you guys can just put in there like you have 0 or this person has this and that, so that we can start keeping track of the people who aren't doing productivity or meeting productivity. I'm sorry. So I'll send you guys a spreadsheet to do that, to track it weekly.
And you're gonna show me how to run this group?
Mhm. Do we have an HDMI cable?
Yeah, I use it from the projector. I take it out the projector.
Oh, okay. I can do that. Yeah, I can definitely do that on the TV before you guys.
I know the last time we talked about it. I know for like the people that had like 15, 16, it was like 30, but for the ones who don't have that many clients, what should their productivity look like?
I thought you guys settled on it depends on the amount of clients that they have.
Yeah, but when we were meeting, it wasn't like a definite for the ones with the less clients.
So,
Because I do have some people with like 6 clients.
and I think so for what, let me back up. I think that might be a little bit tough just based on the levels of care that we use too, because everyone will be a little bit different. So like if you had 6 clients, but everybody was at like a level of care of 3, I would just go 6 times 3 is 18. You should be making like 18 hours a week or something. But, you know, if someone, you know, all of their clients were a level 2 or whatever, that's a little bit less. So,
And I think that's where the gray area is definitely coming in.
mhm.
Because even with the clients, the case managers don't really know necessarily what the level of care is. And then when we're saying they should be seeing them roundabout, it's not a definitive number. So it's not like we're going to them and we're saying, hey, this client A, you should see them 2 hours out of the week. We're not giving them that, but we're still saying you're not meeting productivity. So it's not really clear. And that's the pushback that I got when I go to them. They're like, you're telling me I'm not meeting productivity,
Right.
but what is productivity for my client?
Mm-hmm. And with the levels of care, I'm trying to I remember them off the top of my head. I know it's like if you're at a 1, it's like once a week for 45 minutes. If you're at a level 2, it's up to twice a week for an hour. Is that what it is? Let me see. I know I have it on my computer.
Pretty much the supervisors gotta go in and figure out everyone's productivity or what it should be.
Mm-hmm. Which means that, but based on that, you're gonna have to essentially go into their caseloads and look at all their clients, which is what.
Shouldn't that be determined on the assessment plan, though?
Yeah,
That's what
because
they
they're
should
creating the level.
They
But
should
remember, we
try
didn't
to-
have levels of care
Back
at
then.
first for some clients.
I know, but like when we met like 6 months ago, it was like a while, but you guys had said that will be incorporated. And that's why we told them level of care was coming about. Like we can't really, we never seen these clients. We would go based on the documentation of the QMHS, and that's not all the time representative of where this person stands. I think either they're gonna need a update or level of care has to come back in with the next assessment, because we can't, how do we, you know, because I have people who meet with clients for an hour and 15 minutes about the client not wanting to stop talking in class. That's not reflective of a level of care, though.
Right.
And then when I return that note, I need to justify why they can't bill that long, but we're lacking the level of care still.
No, I agree. That might be.
So let me be clear about what I was talking about, as far as the spreadsheet and the things that I will be requiring you guys is not even necessarily saying productivity hour wise. It's more of when we've had several times where people haven't seen their clients in an extended period of time, and that just can't happen. So the reason why I'm saying that you guys will have to run that report so we can keep track of that more than just saying like, we have this many, you know, that type of thing. Because obviously we still gotta figure it out.
Yeah, right.
But mine will be just looking to make sure that there are not no incomplete notes for that week. And if it is, if they have communicated with you guys why, and that you have gave them permission to put in late notes.
And all notes have to be in by 5, the Monday, or that's on the weekend?
The weekend.
Okay.
The notes have to be in, what do we say, 3 o'clock the next day?
And what happens if they're not? Are we supposed to be doing anything if they're not sticking to that?
Yeah.
How's that supposed to look? Cause do you guys clients stick to that 3 o'clock the next? Okay.
I get so many notes sent to my thing.
Well, that's one reason why
Right.
that's one reason why we
That's
doing
right.
this, because so that you can start figuring it out. Cause I mean, I don't even know where 3 o'clock came. I just was told that this week, because what about if they saw them at 7 o'clock
Yeah.
the night before? So it's always been 24 hours.
Yeah, because I know Jamil, he sees like this family, but he always see them like later in the evening. It'd be like 6, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I think it should be 24 hours.
And that's what the red say. The red say 24 hours.
And then if not,
Are we supposed to not? Because I thought initially, at least what I thought it was, is that the first time it happened when they were sending the notes in late, it was a conversation. The second time, it was a write-up. The third time, they don't get paid for those hours. But that, I mean, at least for me, I've done everything with the exception of don't pay. You know, I don't control that. But I don't know whether it's we need to work better with them with scheduling or what it is. Because I mean, I just got notes when I came back from like the beginning of April.
did I share with you the document that they use at Families First? Like if it's after 24 hours, it's like $3 off each note, but the billing
I
person
don't
takes care
think
of
you can
that.
do that. Can you,
No,
you can't
no.
do that. You can't
That's
stop
illegal.
people's pay. That's illegal. They work, you have to pay them.
You can't do that. That's illegal.
How?
Because
We've been
Because
saying
if it's late,
agencies that if it's
It's
late, you ain't
illegal.
get paid for them.
Because
For
if
them
you
notes.
pay, if you work, you're supposed to get paid.
they're still getting paid, just some money coming off.
No, you
Um,
can't do that.
If the notice late, when did you
No, because I know
go over to the next pay and when you wouldn't get paid?
That's
on
what's
that
been
pay
happening
period, right?
now. That's how Dwayne and Julie
Yeah.
doing it, is that it just goes to the next page.
And that would just be on them, right? I mean, I guess that's a
Yeah,
like
but they
a,
still need a
But that's
penalty for them
different.
late notes.
yeah,
you
they're
work
still
on the
getting
next pay,
paid.
you still
Yeah.
right,
You can't deduct it.
right.
Right. So if you, I mean, and I can send this, excuse me, out again. So on the, I gotta work on it anyway, the payroll schedule, you know, it gives a cutoff date for your notes to be in at least by, it's the, okay, so like take this week, for example, it's pay week. So everyone who had any outstanding notes or note corrections, they had to have been in by Tuesday at 12 p.m. to get paid for this particular check. If those are still outstanding and they're like, let's say they get turned in today for corrections, they're going on the next check. And we're gonna talk about disciplinary action and stuff like that a little bit today. So we can certainly take that as an example, because I know that, you know, even when I've been running, you know, the productivity on Monday, you know, somebody who has 0 hours put on Monday might have 37 on Thursday. So obviously they're not putting their notes in on time. And I want to say that the 3 o'clock came about because, you know, there does need to be some type of kind of cutoff, or you're always just going to kind of have those notes that they just kind of keep coming in, kind of a thing. You know, if somebody saw a client at, I don't know, 8 p.m. on Thursday, you know, technically it wouldn't be due till 8 p.m. on Friday. You know, are you gonna be doing notes at 9 p.m. on a Friday night?
I
'Cause
could
I'm
be in
not.
notes at 11 at night.
Yeah.
I can come in at 8 a.m. Yeah, I can.
12 a.m.
Right.
3 a.m.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and again, we'll take that example when we talk about discipline. I think that actually is my example of a disciplinary action was late notes. But really, it's all about documentation. So, you know what? Why don't we actually skip to that, because we're kind of talking about it right now. In the little packet here, I do have an example of a disciplinary action form. It just says disciplinary action form at the top. And it actually talks about late notes and stuff like that. Yeah, it looks like this disciplinary action form. Okay.
So before you start, I think at this point, we do have an employee based on notes that we can use.
Mhm.
So I think we should write him up.
Excuse me, that's a
I
hiccup.
had it. And if they say anything, I'll take the heat.
Okay. So with the disciplinary action form, it kind of, the obvious very first top part's pretty self-explanatory: names, dates, things like that. So type of action, you've got the verbal, written, a suspension, termination. So your verbal warning really is a verbal warning. It's just still documented that it's a verbal warning. For, you know, paper trail and things like that. If you have had, you know, a couple of discussions, for example, with your staff member about late notes, then, you know, if it's by, I would say, the second or third time that they're late, they should be getting a verbal warning. So like in this particular example, Juby was late with his notes. So basically, you know, it's got the date of incident. I just threw it as 7/20/2020, 1 p.m. We're talking in supervision. So just basically says, you know, on 7/20/2020 during supervision, supervisor spoke with Mr. Johnson regarding his late notes. They were late for the third week in a row. Reported by, you know, whoever is reporting it, anybody else who might have information. So like, let's say that, I don't know, your Juby had also spoken to another supervisor to, you know, gather some understanding about, you know, what time notes were supposed to be put in or something like that. And he was like, oh, well, you know, I talked to Ebony or whatever. You know, you might want to list Ebony's name here because she might have information about, you know, what they talked about. Supporting evidence, if any, please describe and attach. So again, the biggest thing here would be documentation. So in supervision, or you know, even through a phone call or whatever, you know, just saying that, you know, I spoke with this particular staff member about their late notes. You know, that would always want to be documented in a supervision note, which is why it's so important to make sure that those supervision notes also get turned in a timely manner so that they can be put into a staff member's personnel file. You know, if you're trying to write someone up and you're saying, well, I filled in, you know, I did a supervision note for it, and we're like, well, we don't have it. You know, it's going to be very difficult to support that. And it's going to become even more difficult if it comes down the line to terminate someone or suspend someone without that documentation. You just can't do it. So in this example, you know, it says, please see previous supervision logs from 7/13/2020 and 7/6/2020, documenting discussions about Mr. Johnson's late notes and potential consequences for continued late notes. So in those supervisions, you would have had to have your discussion, you know, if your notes are continuing to be late, you know, that's going to be a write-up. You know, if your notes are continuing to be late, that, you know, could be a written warning. There's always room for employees like comments, like if they, you know, kind of want to say something about it. So in this case, you know, Juby said, sometimes I struggle with appropriately managing my time. I sometimes struggle with seeing clients and getting my notes in on time. I know productivity is important, so I've been focusing on that instead of notes, and that isn't good. I want some help with time management. So if an employee is like asking for help or something like that, you'd want to document that there as well. On the next page, you know, again, it asks about any other, if, you know, the employee has any other individuals that might have some input or information, if there's any supporting evidence from the employee, you would want to include that there too. And then the corrective action plan, it's basically what are you going to be doing to assist that staff member in, you know, solving or working on this issue. So in this particular example, the employee is going to meet with the supervisor an additional 2 times this month.
Are you reading nuts?
To,
Are you reading nuts?
she's going to die.
You're gonna kill me.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
I'm sorry, Sharon.
No, it's okay. I was just like, I don't want you to die either. So, okay. So the corrective action plan was meeting with the supervisor an additional 2 times this month to assist in learning time management skills. So, outside of the supervisions that, you know, the staff member is going to, they're going to arrange with their supervisor an additional 2 times to come in to specifically just work on time management skills. And those 2 times that the staff member meets with their supervisor would also want to be documented on a supervision note, because that's going to be evidence that you're working on this particular excuse me, incident. Next step, if the problem continues, a written warning. And I probably should have written written warning in a PIP, which is a performance improvement plan. And we will talk about those as well. I'll probably include them, like an actual example of one, in our next meeting, just because they're a little bit lengthy. But then here at the bottom, it gives you a follow-up timeline. So I said just 30 days, you know, because that will allow for, you know, and the 2 additional meetings with the supervisor, you know, and to see whether or not there needs to be a little bit of time for obviously the scheduling, but then to see if the learning of the time management skills has done anything. And then the employee and the supervisor sign these, and you'll note that it says that the employee signing is just acknowledging that they have received the disciplinary action and that it's been discussed with them. Their signature does not mean that they agree with it. It's just that they have had the opportunity to have it discussed with them and things like that. If the employee refuses to sign, which they can do, you know, it's still going into their personnel file. Like, it's not negating the disciplinary action or anything. So this would be, you'd want to give them a copy, and you'd want to forward a copy to Ebony as well, and Gladys. Anybody have any questions about just the form in and of itself? Obviously, in my mind, more detail is better than less detail. You know, the more detail that you can give and the more evidence that you can give, the stronger the support is going to be for whatever it is that you are kind of working towards. And in general, I have, you know, when I have done supervision and stuff like that, depending on what the issue is, you know, a staff might be able to, you know, have the, I don't want to call it like an infraction, but, you know, I might give them, you know, 2 times to be late with notes before they get written up. Lattice, can you remind them what like the immediately terminable offenses are? Like if the staff member does this, they're gone. Like no ifs, ands, or buts.
Fighting any kind of fraud on their notes. If they do anything illegal with a client, like any kind of personal relationship with a client, if they physically attack a client, if they physically attack another employee, if they verbally attack the supervisor, another employee, things like that.
Okay. And then what about, and then did you say harassment?
Yes.
Okay.
Any sexual harassment, physical harassment, things like that.
Okay.
Because some of the other stuff, we gotta give them a chance so we can send them to classes. But those would be immediate.
Right. Right. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Let me table these. Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to the daily task checklist. So before we leave today, I will definitely show everyone how to run the like productivity reports and the incomplete notes reports and things like that. And then also one of the tasks would be to check staff's caseloads for clients that haven't been seen in 14 plus days and basically follow up with that. So Integrity should actually give you an alert for that when you log in. I will show that to you guys too when I kind of connect the cable to the TV and stuff. Because what I've been seeing a lot is that these clients need to be discharged. Or, you know, there could be something going on with the clients that the case manager knows, like maybe the client like has COVID or something like that, but they're not putting non-billable notes in. So it looks like they're just not being seen. So along with that would be checking charts for non-billable notes. If for some reason, you know, a staff member hasn't seen their client in, you know, a week or so, you know, making sure that a non-billable note is in there saying, you know, I've attempted to contact the client or the client canceled or, you know, something like that. You know, one of the things that I'm working on right now is coming up with a list of clients that need to be discharged. And what I'm not seeing in the charts are non-billable notes. So I'm not really sure if, you know, the client really needs to be discharged or, you know, again, they're just sick or something like that. But the other thing is too, is that, you know, you need to have those documented attempts before you can discharge a client. So if there are no non-billable notes in there and a discharge goes in, it's going to be like, well, where's the proof of you trying to re-engage that client? You know, non-billable, does everybody know how to put in a non-billable note? I had someone call me the other day and ask, and I was like, it's literally just the same as putting in a progress note, but I'll help, no worries. So just making sure that the non-billables are in there. And then again, what we just kind of talked about was just checking that the the staff, checking staff hours to ensure they're seeing their clients and getting their notes in a timely manner. So we will definitely follow up with the spreadsheet with that. We can definitely kind of create it, you know, in a shared drive or something like that. So, you know, you're not stuck like emailing people or whatever, maybe break it up by team or whatever, so it doesn't get confusing. Does anybody have any, oh, and then there's spaces on this too, if there's anything that you want to add for yourself on your daily checklist, you know, like read and respond to emails, I don't know, look at funny memes online, I don't know.
So are we actually turning these in?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Daily.
Mm-hmm. And you can just kind of like scan them in, take a picture, something like that. I am going to triple check with Ms. Vita that these are the 100% approved ones. I made a couple of changes like this morning. So, right. Well, I had to add a couple of things. So,
Wait, this is daily? You turn this in daily?
that one came, yeah, that one came from Vita.
And this will be for one for each client?
No, just you. It's just you.
Oh, so you're just doing like a checklist for yourself daily to say like I did?
Yep, just to kind of remind yourselves. Yeah, it's no, it's not per client. Absolutely not.
So
No, no.
what if this doesn't change though? Because I mean, if it's a reminder for our daily, like, wouldn't that almost look the same if we're doing the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
So she just wanted, you want to just see every day that we're going through the list and signing dates.
And I think too, it reminds me of, you know, when you put like, it's probably a really bad example, but you know, you want like your 7-year-old to not leave their dirty socks all over the floor or whatever. And you're like, all right, you know, every time you make sure that your, you know, laundry's put in the basket or whatever, you know, you get like a star on your chart kind of a thing. You know, eventually you kind of fade that out as they just learn to put their laundry in the basket.
Does this go to Vita or our supervisor?
I want to say it's going to Vita, but I will double check.
And then when is this due by?
Sorry, what?
Is it like the time that has to be submitted by?
The end of the day. And like I said, when they were kind of like designed, they might end up getting like combined. Like I said,
I was gonna ask if it could all be like on one sheet.
Yeah, I was gonna say they might. When I typed them, it was easier for me just to see them all on one sheet, so we can definitely play with like the format of them. And then the next one was like the weekly one. Holding supervisions with your staff and doing the supervision notes. Staff members should really be physically signing their supervision notes. What I've done with my staff that I do over the phone is either send it through, well, I don't know how to use DocuSign, so I don't send it. I'm like totally ignorant. I don't know idea how to use it. So I basically just send them a Word document, and they've managed to like print it out and sign it and scan it and send it back, which is fine. When I had my team meeting last week, I had a couple of people that just came in and signed their supervision notes then, because they didn't have a way to get them back to me. So that is certainly an option for that. I love meeting people face to face, so that doesn't usually become an issue with me. I'm not sure how everybody else prefers to do theirs, but you know, DocuSign would be an example of how to get like a signature or something like that. Penny is our resident DocuSign expert.
I had to reach out to April for the.
Okay, so April is our resident DocuSign expert. I literally have no idea how to use it, so I don't.
I use it, but my trial just expired. Did you guys pay for it?
Yeah.
Oh,
you
so
just
now,
already-
oh, okay. Cause I had set up like a free trial. So I
You know what you want from Panera?
We can take a break. We have a long figure it out. Let me just go through.
You think
this
so?
particular. And then I'd say, so we're gonna order lunch soon. I'm just gonna go through the rest of the sheet, and then we can just take a little
Are
break.
Are these gonna be in the drive?
Yes. Yep. So reviewing productivity. So what I will also probably do as well, and I'll speak with Ebony about this. This one might need to change, but just kind of reviewing. This would have been reviewing the productivity report that I sent, but just conducting any disciplinary action as necessary if your staff, again, aren't meeting their productivity, their notes are late, things like that. I know that the discussion about productivity has just kind of been tabled briefly until we kind of figure out what is going on with that. But again, just the important part would be the disciplinary action for any, late progress, consistently late progress notes, things like that. So reviewing, I'd say probably 10 treatment plans, just making sure that your progress notes are linked to the treatment plan. So, it would basically just be pulling up a client's treatment plan and saying, okay, do these the interventions that the staff are doing, does it go with the treatment plan? I found when I have been doing chart audits that the notes don't always connect to the treatment plans. And I don't necessarily, from what I had been reading, I think that the staff had the intention of connecting it. They just couldn't figure out how to do it in a progress note, if that makes sense. Or I don't know what words to use. I read the treatment plan and then I looked at the note and I kind of made the connection, but it wouldn't have been clear had I not looked at the treatment plan. And then just making sure that they're up to date. Most of our treatment plans, as long as they weren't an adjustment disorder, aren't set to expire or anything like that. But if you are going through and seeing that the staff's notes are consistently not following the treatment plan, it might be a sign that the treatment plan needs to be updated or something like that. Making sure that, going throughout the week, when you're reading your progress notes, just to make sure that they're not cookie cutter. I've worked at agencies where you could literally print out 2 notes and hold them up to the light and they were literally the same. So just making sure that, the notes are individualized for that particular client. Obviously, I have worked with clients and there have been days where all my clients that day did the same intervention because it was a Friday, but the response was obviously a little bit different and the reasons why the interventions were done were a little bit different. Making sure you're turning in supervision notes to Vita. Making
supervision notes
to
will be
you
coming to me.
Okay.
Everything will be coming to me.
All right, I'll fix that then. Making sure that the staff have filled out and shared Google calendars with you for safety reasons. I'm going to get step-by-step instructions with pictures on how to do that. It's a little more complicated than I thought it was, and I'm pretty good with Google. So I will definitely be getting those instructions and pictures up, and I'll email them, but I'll put them up in the drive too in case you ever can't find them. So I'll have those done by tomorrow at the end of business. And again, that is just for safety reasons. I I don't think Integrity has a calendar. And if so, I have absolutely no idea how to use it personally. And then there's another alert again in Integrity that I'll show you guys, the docs and important dates expiring in 30 days, just to alert staff to clients whose documentation might need an update. What I have found is that if there are multiple copies of a document, so like let's say that there is a client who had been diagnosed with an adjustment disorder, they had their update for their treatment plan and their assessment, and then a new copy was uploaded. For some reason, it still pulls the old dates. I'm looking into whether or not there's a way to not do that, because I've honestly just had to go right to the client's chart and like look to see if they were truly expiring. So we are going to take a little break and we're ordering lunch and ordering lunch. So I'd say like 15, 20 minutes. Come back at like
Everybody can go use the restroom.
yeah, I'd say maybe 11:50. Come back. It's 11:37. Make phone calls, get more coffee, stuff like that.
My coffee's making you want more coffee.
I always want coffee. Let's be real here. Yeah.
After you get the supervision notes, Ebony, and you sign off on them, can you make sure I get them, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I can pull up a
These look
menu.
delicious.
They do. Is that like flavored water?
Yeah. You know how they're supposed to be good for you?
Yeah.
But I can't drink the whole.
You guys get as well. I'll email it and put it in the drive. I'm making I can put Ebony, do you want me to put the treatment plan menu in the drive?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll update that and send that to you just so you can kind of be familiar along with some instructions and things like that. But
I just worry that that update period is going to be a little challenging, only because I have a lot of like my clients, even my case managers, when I speak to them about what they're doing, they don't even understand why some of the goals are on the treatment plan. So I think to bridge that gap and have them kind of giving information as to what an update looks like, I think there's a real big room for error there, because they don't even understand some of the goals that are selected initially.
And I think I think that is partly to just how we do our initial treatment plans, because they come from the assessor, not the case manager.
I'm also trying to still fix the problem. So I know back in November, we had the other office, Vita was in charge of updating all the plans for the people that had the therapy goals, but that never even actually had a therapist. So Darcia has about 9 people, and I have not even started because of the process and the lengthiness of just trying to take those off and create new plans and getting her to update. It's a lot. So they have not been done yet, but I know this was a task that was supposed to be done like back in November, but it's kind of been pushed on me, I guess, as their supervisor to get that taken care of.
And I think too, one of the issues in general is we don't have enough therapists to be able to give some of this work to. Like, there's not enough people with licenses to be able to do stuff like this. It is definitely a goal that the case managers are going to be trained to be able to do it someday. Every agency that I've worked at as a case manager, I did the treatment plan and somebody basically signed off on it. We sat down, I did it, presented it to the supervisor before I saw the client, obviously, and they're like, yep, that's good, kind of a thing, go for it. What I will put on the agenda for the next meeting is talking about that a little bit more, and I will go through all of my eyeball just started twitching thinking about it, but all of my documents, because I think the reason that the treatment plan kind of like update form was created was to bridge that problem, because that form's also supposed to be filled out with the client to be able to give some more information about, you know, that kind of stuff. So I will definitely put that on the agenda for
So we're
next
pretty
week.
much just having the case managers go over the treatment plans with their clients. So like, as far as like, how would I do that? Just to go and take off the therapy goals that were never started or haven't even.
So that would, when are Darcia's like annuals due? Are they coming up?
I'm not sure, but she pretty much started when we all started.
Okay, so my suggestion would be, honestly, just wait until the annuals are done and take them off then, because they're just gonna, they wouldn't necessarily need to get updated again,
Right.
but if they're coming due in like a month, I would just kind of wait. But yeah, so the treatment plan review with the client, you know, since that's like a billable service, it can be done by a case manager. Like, you know, here are the goals and stuff that we, you know, set based on what we talked about, you know, and that's just a session kind of a thing. So let me make myself a little note to that. So I will definitely show you guys how to get to that report. I'll probably go through just like a couple more of the kind of like forms and stuff that we have, the paperwork and stuff, and then I'll show you how to get to all the reports and stuff. I want to make sure to save time for that. So on the monthly task checklist too, it says ensure that staff development plans are being reviewed, and then it says CPST staff only. The state OMAS requires CPST staff to have what is called a staff development plan. And our OMAS rep basically described it as like a treatment plan for CPST staff. So identifying areas in which, you know, they need some additional training, kind of focusing on working with them in developing certain skills as a CPST worker, things like that. I am working on putting together a form for that, based on what the regs say. It's been a little slow going because they're a little ambiguous, and I'm just kind of like, oh, that could be interpreted like 15 different ways, kind of a thing. But my goal is to essentially have that out by like the beginning of the month, like June 1st. And then if you do have a staff member that is just CPST, then I will be sure to let you know, like if they're considered like a PSR or like a TBS or whatever, they don't need one. It's just CPST. And there's not a lot of staff at the agency that are classified as just CPST. I think there's like 6 or 7 out of all the case managers. So I will definitely let you know who needs one and who does not. And then again, anything that you want to add for your month. And then the last one is like the as needed checklist. So on that one is just reviewing transfer discharge summaries for accuracy and completeness, giving them back for corrections if there are any, signing and forwarding them on for upload and stuff if they're good. Well, I have an example of a transfer discharge summary in here. When I was doing chart audits, you know, I did see a lot that, you know, had OMAS pulled them during our audit, they would have been like, what is this kind of a thing? Like, this is not a transfer discharge summary. The supervision justification forms, again, those need to be turned in for staff members, because we need to have some type of documentation as to why the staff are being seen at the frequency they are. You know, that's something that OMAS essentially requires, like, just you know, why are you supervising your staff at this level? Those 30, 60, 90-day benchmark reports. So that one, so as of right now, those new staff that are coming in, you know, as their supervisor, as like the training supervisor, when I, you know, getting them, I'm going to be doing those. So that wouldn't be something that, you would need to worry about. It's just that if you do get a staff member like with a license or something like that, you know, you would need to complete those, because I'm not going to be doing training supervision with the licensed staff members. So anybody who has like I mean, for the most part, I believe Tasha's been getting most of the new staff members. So, you know, I'll be doing the 30, 60, 90-day forms for them. But if for some reason a new staff member does get assigned to your team, I'd be working on those and just kind of coordinating with you. Okay, well, what do you see based on, you know, their clinical kind of skills and stuff like that? Discussing any issues with staff as they occur. Like if you find like, oh, this staff member isn't seeing their clients or something like that, or, oh, these notes are, you know, late for the 3rd week in a row, you want to be discussing those as they occur. You know, don't hold on to an issue. You know, we don't want it to snowball or anything like that. And the last would just be providing supports to clients if their QBHS or therapist is out, unless other arrangements have been made and documented. I generally suggest to the case managers that if they are going to be, you know, out for a few days, like on vacation, they try to find another case manager to cover for them, just because that gives a billing opportunity for someone else should that arise. As long, it just needs to be kind of documented, because otherwise it's assumed that the supervisor is kind of taking over that role. And do you want to say anything about like vacation kind of thing?
So because we're in the summertime, a lot of the QBHSs have been inquiring about vacation time. And we need to let them know they are independent contractors. There is no vacation. So they say that they've never heard of that. I don't know how they have never heard of that. They're independent contractors, so there is no vacation time. Only full-time people can inquire about that, but they are independent contractors, so there is no vacation time for that.
But what does that actually mean? Because they still can take vacation.
They can take vacation, but they're not getting paid for it.
So somebody was confused about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of
They were
people.
saying that the other agencies, they were able to receive vacation pay. I guess that's what the issue was.
And somebody like Lucy was lying, because we worked at that agency together and they were not independent contractors. They were full-time employees.
Okay.
So she was trying to get over it. Because she was not an independent contractor. She was a full-time employee.
So it basically kind of boils down to like, they can take the time, they're not going to get paid for it. I did have someone say, well, what if I, you know, go out of town? Can I still see clients? Well, if you're doing telehealth, that's fine. You just obviously have to make sure that, you know, you have the privacy available. And
Question about telehealth. Denise texted me yesterday. She actually showed me an email that Vita sent her saying no more telehealth.
I'm gonna have to double check on that, because I did hear that it was going to be ending at
She
some
told her
point.
to stop.
However, if it is still a thing, Then the staff just would need to get a form signed.
Yeah, it says, please do not use any telehealth code for your notes. This is the, from Vita to Deneen. You should be
Okay.
using a regular 90837 without the GT for regular sessions.
I think Crystal sent something out.
Okay, I didn't
I
get
think,
that.
yeah, I think it came from Crystal.
All right, I'll double check because I didn't hear of that, but I did hear somewhere. I was gonna say, I heard somewhere that, okay, we're gonna be phasing out telehealth because stuff is starting to like open up and stuff again, but at the same time, it's like,
People still might want
I was
virtual.
like, I love not having to drive to like my doctor's
Yeah, some people
office.
still want.
So
Exactly.
Are we gonna bridge that, like, so people can let their clients know, like,
So I'm gonna figure out what is going on first. If like my brain is going faster, my mouth is
So much
going
information.
like faster than my brain is, and I don't want to say the wrong thing. So one of the things too that Omas did say was that with telehealth, we were out of compliance. We were just basically missing like what I refer to as the permission slip for telehealth. I have created one. I need to make sure, like review it again and make sure it has everything that the state says that would need to be in it if we're going to continue to use telehealth. So I will definitely follow up and let you guys know as soon as possible. And then if it is still a thing, I will make sure that in that email, I do attach the kind of like the form that a client would need to sign, but I will also send it to the staff members in an email because they're basically would need to get that signed prior to seeing a client via telehealth
It
again.
might need to come up and get some physical copies, because I know I sent out the COVID form our last meeting and I had to.
Okay, and yeah, I can definitely make the physical copies too. That's totally fine. But I will, I put like a big star by that, so I'll follow up with that today. So then just a couple examples that I have here in terms of documentation. So I did, it's not on this because I totally forgot to add it. So there is a form that Gladys and I created the other day. It's called a staff movement form. It is basically, it's kind of like this. It might be like one of the very last ones. But basically it's just if for some reason you ever have a staff member transferred to your team or transferred from your team, one of these will be filled out. Omas was kind of like, I don't like where who belongs to who kind of a thing. There was always a little bit of issue with that. So it's basically just pretty straightforward, your staff name and title or position, transferring supervisor name, receiving supervisor name, and then the why are they being transferred. So it doesn't have to be like a huge long paragraph, just some justification basically for a transfer. So this one just says the staff member needs additional training and support at this time. They're new to the field of case management, behavioral health, struggling to understand job duties, responsibilities. Transfer to a new supervisor with less supervisees will allow staff member to receive the additional support needed to succeed with heart to heart. It's asking about disciplinary action. So, I've worked at agencies where I've had supervisees moved to me from another supervisor because of disciplinary action. For some reason, somebody was like, well, you can be really tough on them. I'm like, okay, sure. So if they're being transferred for disciplinary action, just basically attaching that. So, or explaining so that the receiving supervisor is kind of, put into the loop. Basically the transfer effective date, like when would this be effective? And then, it's not basically sign and date, and then the office use only, like Ebony or Vita would basically sign saying like, yeah, this transfer is good to go.
And that shouldn't happen until we had a conversation
Right.
about that.
Right. Definitely. And then those forms would go to Lattice after.
We also need to go over real quickly, like who is on who thing. April was talking about a person who she got a call from and she don't even know who that person is. So we can just kind of go over who's on who. I think Lattice had a question about that too, 'cause I guess people have been switched around.
Yeah, the teams are all messed up and I have no idea how anybody ended up on anybody's team. Because Tasha, is Denise on your team somehow?
Somehow she is, but I
And she
don't,
can't.
yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know who put her on your team. The only team that she can be on is either Ebony's or Miss Vita's team.
Or
So
Samantha's.
Denise Watson, right?
Oh,
Are you saying
yeah.
Denise? Okay.
She's moved or should be moved to Samantha.
I
right.
haven't received anything from her. recently.
Okay, good. So this is who I have on everybody's team, and I guess you guys can tell me if anybody is missing or if they need to add. So on Tasha's team, I have Alexa Granberry, Danina Blakely, Isai Seni, Latia Taylor, Lavelle Turnage, Lucy Hill, Regina Burton, Roanna Moretto, Chantel Paul, and Tawana Battle.
Correct.
That's all I have. Okay, and then on Penny's team, I have Amber Richardson, Bailey Jones, Garcia Boyd, DeAndre Delp, Leslie Bates. Mildred is still there until her
Yeah.
official last day.
Yeah.
Bonetta Reynolds, Stephen Bell, Stephen Whitney, and Vincent Hunt. Yeah. And then Latia, on your team, I have Alethea Galloway, Aaliyah Hines, Donna Spiger, Jamel Brooks, Joshua Jackson, Mario Hosea, Shanice Holton, which is a big movie,
Yeah, I know.
Sheena Ellis